Hello fun people, I'm Isaac Carlson, and today I'm going to be examining what led Elsa to leave Arendelle in Frozen 2, because this was a development I would have never expected. Going into the sequel, I had a feeling that Elsa would learn about herself and her powers more, but I couldn't have prepared myself for her to abdicate the throne and remain in the Enchanted Forest. From the moment she was born, she was destined to be queen, but when the time came for her to decide where her heart lived, she rejected that role to follow another, which at first felt weird for me because I thought Elsa was a fantastic queen, and I believe she could have continued to be one. For 3 years in Arendelle and for 6 years in our world, Elsa was the monarch who ruled. We had seen her grappling with that responsibility as we saw her transformation from a queen whose burden almost completely destroyed her into one who embraced the role and truly began to thrive. All of us got to see Arendelle transformed from a place that had been shut off, complacent, and hidden into one that was successful, happy, and proud. And I mean, how many years did Arendelle really have Weaseltown as their closest partner in trade before Elsa? How did no one ever even question why their duke was so power hungry and up in their business? She served her citizens by opening up the gates, holding celebrations, and welcoming many new people to Arendelle as a result. This is actually why in Frozen, the citizens are pretty homogenous, while in the sequel, the population becomes much more diverse. The kingdom grew to be filled with international characters, which I just thought was a fantastic explanation as to what was going on within Arendelle. I think Elsa's willingness to engage and interact with her subjects made all people feel welcomed. Once Elsa was out of her room, she remained in the world with her people. Sure, the cast sang a song about how some things never change, but Arendelle definitely was being expanded and the kingdom was blessed with a bounty to live on. I'd love to hear in the comments down below if you appreciated Elsa as a queen like I did, because I think Elsa did a lot to build up Arendelle, which is why I was so shocked when she decided she was going to leave her home behind. I had fallen in love with the fact that Elsa was the first princess in Disney history to be coronated as a queen. I mean, I was the one who kept making the mistake of calling her a Disney princess when she was in fact a ruler throughout Frozen. But in the sequel, she relinquishes that title, and I honestly felt disappointed. I wanted to see what Elsa could accomplish, where she would take her people, and what she would do next for Arendelle, but throughout Frozen 2, her purpose seemed to be reinvented. In my opinion, Elsa seems to go on a similar journey throughout both Frozen and Frozen 2, where she discovers herself in almost the same way, just with a different outcome. And if you'd like to see me explore that topic in the future, be sure to subscribe and click the beautiful bell to stay up to date on when that gets released. There's definitely still parts of Elsa's story that I still need to explore. Now let's be clear though, I'm ecstatic that Anna was crowned as queen. She was portrayed as someone who had one of the grandest hearts and seemed to have grown into an incredible individual. I think she absolutely loves being immersed in Arendelle just as much, if not more, than Elsa, and will certainly do a great job of keeping her kingdom remaining strong and together. But why would Elsa leave Arendelle and her human, mortal, and societal responsibilities behind? Well, I think that all comes down to who Elsa truly is, as she was defined by her creators. While I had always internalized Elsa as a queen in an attempt to understand what Elsa and Anna would become after the events of Frozen, directors Chris Buck and Jennifer Lee, along with the producer Peter Del Vecchio, explored these sisters together and came to a different conclusion. Through a ton of research, speaking with psychologists and trauma specialists, and diving deep into character assessments and personality tests, they began to uncover new layers to the characters they had created. And this exploration of these characters gave them a guide map to what these women would become. What they discovered was that Elsa had many of the characteristics of a protector. This meant that she was cooperative, understanding, excellent in one-on-one situations, but oftentimes was at odds with herself. Elsa was someone who would use her abilities to keep others safe. On the other hand, Anna was actually the one who embodied the qualities of a leader, meaning she was the one who was capable of influencing people towards achieving goals, which I could absolutely see. Anna was the one who was willing to take action when no one else had hope, like when Elsa ran away from Arendelle, for the first time. She rallied a team around her and guided them on a journey to save her sister. In a more personal way, Anna is the one who ties her family together, making sure that they are all happy, taken care of, and loved. Maybe at first she was a little rough around the edges, getting everyone to forge ahead with her, but I can absolutely see, especially throughout Frozen 2, that when she sees an opportunity to take action for the good of others, she will do what is necessary. But that kind of put Elsa's tale in a difficult place. As I have explained, she was portrayed as a fantastic queen who did a lot to build Arendelle into what it was in Frozen 2. Even though she may not have been born to be a leader, her time as queen was effective, her people seemed to love her, and there wasn't a reason set up within any of the stories of Elsa before Frozen 2 that led anyone to believe that she had restless feelings or a lingering sense of concern over where she was meant to be. Therefore, the creators developed a place that she could be drawn to protect that was tied to where her magic derived from, because that was a part of her story that had definitely been established. Elsa was a person who spent her entire childhood attempting to protect her family from her magical powers. She did whatever she could to keep others safe, and for her entire life, she had no idea why she possessed her abilities. Sure, Elsa was surrounded by people who loved her, but if there was ever a chance that she could solve the mysteries that surrounded her, that her parents had spent their lives searching for, it would make sense that she would want to go on an adventure to seek out answers. The problem for me, though, is that I don't necessarily love how that concept was executed. After serving as an admirable queen for many years, she seems quickly lured away, distracted, and pulled away from Arendelle. Sure, there's the argument that Elsa was destined to be drawn away, but in my mind, Elsa seemed too easily seduced to travel from Arendelle. She was apprehensive when the siren began to consume her thoughts, and she knew there were 1,000 reasons to go about her day. But eventually, Elsa confesses that she believes she's not where she's meant to be, and that her growing powers are drawing her away. You know, she wants to go into the unknown, and that didn't seem like Elsa to me. It seems kind of wild to me that we came to understand Elsa as a loving and respected sister and ruler while she was internally determined to embody the characteristics of a protector, but when she receives her siren call and Arendelle seems to be threatened by angry spirits, her instincts are to leave her kingdom instead of protecting her people. Instead of using her gifts to watch over the citizens of Arendelle, she decides to set off on an adventure where she would mainly go off on her own. While I'm sure Grandpappy served as a wise leader in her absence, it seems like Elsa should have been focused much more on preserving her family and the people who embraced her, especially with the idea present that she was meant to embody a protector. In my mind, Frozen was about Anna showing Elsa that Elsa didn't have to be consumed by fear, that they could work together hand in hand. Elsa didn't have to be alone. With her people and her family around her, she could be her true self in Arendelle. Elsa wanted to be free, but more importantly, she seemed to have a duty to protect her kingdom from the powers that she felt she could never control. So when Elsa was reunited with Anna and began to thrive, I just felt like it didn't make a lot of sense why she would want to give up her life there. I don't believe Elsa and Anna should have been expected to live their entire lives intertwined, but it's hard for me to see how a new path presented to Elsa could supersede her love for her family and the duty she had to her people. But if we internalize that Elsa had been struggling for most of her life with a feeling that she was meant to be somewhere else, I do begin to connect much more with Elsa's journey. With an understanding that Elsa had been trying to step towards a new life for herself even when she ventured to the North Mountain, which I acknowledge is recontextualizing Elsa's original tale, I can at least see that maybe she would just never be happy or satisfied in Arendelle. No matter how great a ruler she turned out to be, maybe it just made more sense for her to be liberated from every aspect of her life that ever tied her down. I think in that case, setting forth to a new land where she could be unleashed could make sense. Now, I still don't think that means she should have gone on this entire adventure completely alone. As I discussed in my previous video on Elsa and Anna's strained relationship in Frozen 2, I think it would have been much more powerful if she discovered alongside Anna that her place was somewhere else, but I can at least understand that she was just trying to keep everyone around her safe as she unlocked her true self and pursued the happiness that everyone deserves. Once Elsa is out in the Enchanted Forest, she seems to fall in love with the land, the people, and the magic that surrounded her. Every experience seemed to mesmerize Elsa to a point where it seemed that nothing could make her as happy as being immersed here. Elsa felt like she didn't have to be torn or hidden or lost anymore. She believed she was home. Of course, a part of me definitely still feels like Elsa's life as a ruler and sister should have been explored and preserved in a larger way than it had been after we had grown to fall in love with those aspects of Elsa. But that's not where her story went. Instead, Elsa's destiny was completely redesigned. Maybe it's a little unfair to say that Elsa abandoned everyone. Sure, she had a life in Arendelle, but since she was internally driven away and left her kingdom in fantastic hands, it's possible I just feel betrayed by her departure. I liked her as the queen. I wanted to see her relationship with Anna explored more, and I hoped that her family would be together forever. But regardless of what I hoped for, we now know that Elsa left because she embodied the traits of a protector, had been born to be the representative of magic, and was a piece of the fifth spirit. And with these realizations, Elsa felt she had finally found herself. Sure, this isn't exactly where I thought her story would go, and I do think there are still ramifications for the way the story played out. But in Frozen 2, a new path that we are told Elsa's been searching for her entire life is finally presented to her. So of course, she's willing to do anything to set forth on that new life, even if it meant she had to turn away from Arendelle. But let me know down below what your thoughts and theories are surrounding Elsa's departure. Should she have left, or should Anna have sought a new purpose herself? Also, make sure to subscribe and click the beautiful bell, and then click on another magical video in the description or on the screen. Finally, as always, thanks for watching and have a magical day.